What's up, everybody? It's Thursday night. We got our Bible study done and we went to dinner, Vicky and Billy and I, and we are out here working on the truck again. Finished the oil change and we're putting a new radiator in it now. And man, this thing looks so much better with these polished valve covers. Check this out. This looks so much nicer. Hopefully they don't leak. We had trouble with them leaking on Tommy's truck, but I think that was just because of the gaskets we were using. We'll find out, I guess. So once we get this radiator put in, we're gonna go ahead and put some water in it and maybe just a Scotia antifreeze, but we'll see. Just a little. I think I'll go ahead and film our complete warm-up routine so people can see what we do to get this thing warmed up without milking the oil. Now, when we drained the oil out of it last night, it was the worst I'd ever seen, but it had been in there for over a month. And in all honesty, what milks the oil worse than anything on our particular application is the warm-up. And when we were in New Orleans, we spent more fuel warming it up because every time the cops come, we'd shut it off and have to move spots and warm it up again. And it was a little hectic, but I think that's what caused most of the moisture in the oil that we just changed last night, is that trip to New Orleans. So we got the radiator out, and Junior's got his brand new radiator laying over here, swapping fittings out for the transmission cooler line. Jesus. So while we're out here working on the truck, Billy's putting the radiator back in it. I've been getting a few questions recently about the fuel system and what all this truck uses for the blow-through carburetor, as far as the fuel pressure regulator, fuel pump, fuel lines, how do we pull timing, that whole thing. So now would probably be a good time to go through that because it's sitting right here and I've got nothing better to do. So this is the CSU 750 blow-through carburetor. It has billet and metering blocks, dual needle and seat float bowls, and it's plumbed with, I believe this is -8 line, which is twist lock, which somebody's gonna give a shit for that, I'm sure. And that's an Aeromotive A2000, part number 13202, I believe. Boost reference fuel pressure regulator. And we take our boost reference. This is the line, goes up here to this vacuum pod, and it's below the carburetor. You see it has a vacuum line. It goes to the carburetor spacer there, and it feeds this vacuum pod. So that's where we get our boost reference from. This line is just a fuel pressure gauge line. It goes up to the front of the windshield there. We're running, this is -10, isn't it, Billy, or is it dash 10 feed?
Dash 10.
Yeah, it's a -10 feed, -10 return. And this is the return line here. Feed lines down here on the bottom underneath. So that's the fuel pressure regulator and the carburetor setup. Let's show you the fuel pump. Okay, this is the fuel pump in the truck. It's an Aeromotive 10.0 brushless fuel pump. And we use Aeromotive fuel filter before and after. Well, actually that's a Jegs filter before the pump, and then an Aeromotive filter after. -10 line, -10 return. And we return to the top of the fuel cell, not the side, not the bottom. It has to return into the top. If you do not return into the top of the fuel cell and let it breathe, you will have trouble keeping the fuel pressure down. That's a key problem on carburetors is you have to make sure that the return is able to flow enough so that the fuel pressure doesn't creep at an idle. High fuel pressure on a carburetor is a no-no at idle. So this fuel pump uses a signal wire. You see it's got 3 wires. I believe the red wire is the signal wire that goes to the map sensor. And we just teed into one of the wires on the 3-bar map sensor that's up here in the glove box. I'll show it to you. Okay, I know it's pretty filthy, dirty, and one of Billy's girlfriends really pissed me off when they broke this mint glove box door, but whatever. So this is the map sensor right here. You see it's got a vacuum line. I know it's hard to see. You see it's got a vacuum line. It's got these wires that come off of it and this plug. And we teed off of the map sensor wiring here. As you can see, let me get this, my wonderful wiring job. That gray wire goes to the back, and that feeds a 5-volt signal to the brushless fuel pump. And as boost increases, the pump RPM increases to increase the fuel pressure. Now, as far as the ignition system, you could see in the box, in the glove box there, we just use an MSD 6AL2 programmable and there's the ignition coil. Of course, it's mounted upside down, so it's hard to read what it is, but there's the part number. Just a standard MSD blue ignition coil, and of course, MSD billet distributor, locked out. We run 36 degrees of initial advance, and we pull 1/2 degree of timing per pound of boost. Now, you don't pull any until you get to what, 10 pounds or something?
I don't pull any timing until I get to about 6 pounds of boost.
Okay, so
5 or 6.
we run 36 degrees up to 5 or 6 pounds of boost, and from that point on, we've got the box programmed to pull 1/2 degree of timing per pound of boost above 5 or 6 pounds. And that's it. The carburetor,
I wouldn't recommend that with just regular pump gas or E85.
right, this is on methanol. Yeah, we're on methanol.
I would start with a degree per pound.
Yeah, degree per pound to get started. But we're on methanol, and we like to get spicy with it. So anyway, I'll show you the carburetor a little bit, a little detail on the carburetor here. You can see the jet sizes for our methanol setup are labeled on the bowls. That's a 135 thousandths jet in the front. And I think that says 170, but I'm thinking they may be 185. I think I've drilled them out to 185. I just didn't mark it on the bowl. But the reason I run the smaller jet in the front is so that when you do the burnout, or when Billy does his burnout, it doesn't load the engine up with fuel. I run the power valve. It's got adjustable power valves in them, boost reference power valves. And I run a lot of spring pressure on the front power valve to keep it closed until it gets up around 5 or 6 pounds of boost. Now, the reason I do that is because in the burnout, the truck tends to want to build 5 or 6 pounds of boost. And we try to keep the power valves closed during the burnout so that it doesn't flood and run really rich in the burnout. If you open the power valve in the front during the burnout, it tends to get really, really rich and stumble, and it's not good. So we run 135 thousandths jet in the front, 185 thousandths in the back, and then I make up the extra fuel for the front and drilled out power valve channel restrictors. The front metering block, literally, I'd have to show you, and I'd have to measure it. I don't know what they are right off the top of my head, but the power valve channel restrictors in the front metering blocks are drilled completely out almost to the threads. And then it has an auxiliary hole above that that's completely drilled out. And I believe it's, if I had to guess, I'd say it's over 1/8 of an inch. So that's all stuff that we did once we got the carburetor back from Kevin, and we went out and tested and tested and tested. We just kept throwing more and more fuel at it until we got it to where we were happy. We felt like it was safe. But generally the air fuel ratio, we try to stay around 3.9 to 4.1, and occasionally it'll climb to 4.2, 4.3. So how you doing on this radiator project, Slim Shady?
I'm doing good. I'm just putting the last little zip strip on here.
We don't ever use that fan, but one of these days I'm sure we'll probably put the E85 metering blocks back in it and want to go cruise someplace, and you're going to need it.
Yeah, I'd like to drive it one time before it really starts to get bad outside.
Yeah.
I could do one more cruise with it.
I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it and not have it.
Yeah.
As far as the intake manifold on this, it's just a standard Super Hurricane Professional Products intake manifold that I gasket matched, I guess you could say, or slightly ported. I think I matched them up fairly close to a 1206 gasket. I don't like to use the term gasket matched because I don't gasket match. That's not the proper way to port an intake to a gasket size. But I will say that I cleaned up the intake runners to where they line up a little bit better with the cylinder head. But as far as air intake temperatures go, Billy, what are they, about 300 above the carburetor?
Yeah, about 280, 300. When I'm on full boost, 30 pounds.
At 30 pounds of boost, we get up around 28 or 280 to 300 degrees. The cylinder heads on this engine are AFR 220s, standard 23 degree AFR 220 heads, basically right out of the box. Although these heads have had the intake valves replaced. It has heavy duty intake valves from AFR, and it has, what do you call those exhaust valves? Inconel exhaust valves. I don't know why my brain locked up there and I couldn't remember.
It happens.
It happens a lot with me, doesn't it? Senility.
Me too.
So just standard 23 degree small block AFR heads, 220 cc intake runner, 64 cc combustion chamber, and what else?
Pretty much just out of the box, other than it's got, different valves.
Yeah.
Not
And
ported.
it's got different valve springs. Put a better set of valve springs on. What was I going to say? It was something. It was another. Compression. It's about 13 to 1, 13 to 13.5 to 1 compression. And twin precision journal bearing 7675s. Is that what they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, twin 7675 precisions. They're not ball bearing, they're just journal bearing. We can't afford that ball bearing life. And it's got 60 millimeter wastegates, 1 3/4 headers into this 3-inch elbow, and T4 flanges. 3-inch exhaust out the turbo, out through the fender. So anyway, we're going to fire this thing up, and I'm going to lean the idle mixture screws out just a little bit. We're going to warm it up and see how it sounds. The valves definitely needed adjusted. We had a few of them that were loose, a couple that were tight, which that is never a good thing when they're tight. But we're going to fire it up and see what it sounds like. Well, unfortunately, I just realized it's 12:02 in the morning. It's just past midnight, so it's a little too late tonight to start this thing up. We're going to go ahead and put water in it and check for leaks. But I would imagine we'll probably wait till in the morning to fire this thing up, or at least tomorrow afternoon to fire this thing up, because once you start it, it takes 10 to 15 minutes to get the engine up to 160 degrees, even with it idling at 1700 RPM with the lean out valve open and the water pump turned off. It takes a good bit of time to get heat in it with water in the block. And it's pretty loud. So it's not really something we want to do, upsetting the neighbors. So I think that's probably going to do it for today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. We're going to just check for leaks, and we'll get up in the morning and go again. I've got some stone to haul in the morning. I got a load of sand to haul in the morning. We got some drainage work to finish up tomorrow, me and Tommy. And I better get off here and hit the sack. So once again, I want to thank everybody for watching, subscribing. If you don't mind, share these videos and subscribe, turn on the notifications so that you see them. I try to upload every day, but I can't always upload every day, especially on the weekends. I won't be uploading. And once again, this weekend, we're going to Marion County. We'll be up there tomorrow night for the 28th race.
Milan Saturday.
And then we're going to Milan, Michigan on Saturday for the Detroit Hood TV Pour Your Own Puddle backwards race at Milan. So we'll be up there. And then I think Sunday we're going to go to Tecumseh and ride trails on the four-wheelers and the side-by-side and just kind of take an easy day. So should be fun. So that's going to be about it for tonight, guys. We're going to sign off here. Thank you for watching. Appreciate all the love and support for me and my family and my boys. Check out Tommy's new, what is it, SRC photo page?
srcphotos.com.
srcphotos.com. So that's Tommy's little side gig he started with his girlfriend. They're going to be uploading pictures and selling color posters. And if you're into that kind of thing, if you want them autographed, I don't know why you would, but I'll do it if you ask me to. So that's going to be it for tonight, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Have a good weekend.